Brian Powell of I Run Far here with Kaytlyn Gerbin after her third place finish at the 2022 UTMB. How are you, Kaytlyn?
Doing good.
Yeah, you look energetic and recovered. Is that the case?
I don't feel too bad, actually. I don't feel too terrible.
Right on. Probably after really good races. Is that kind of common? Like,
I mean, I feel like I ran a good, strong, smart race that was within my means yesterday, so I don't feel overly, like, crushed after that. So
sometimes after the bad races, one is more crushed, maybe.
maybe, yeah.
So you kind of did seem like you ran not aggressive, but you ran strong, but within yourself from the
Yeah.
gun. Like you were in the women's top 5 from go, right?
Yeah, actually, I mean, it's crazy. There's like just there's so much commotion at the start. So I had no idea
Yeah.
where I was place-wise in the first bit. And actually, like going into the race, the only part I was really nervous about was the start to Lake Contamines because I know it's fast. It's not really my forte of like that kind of fast, almost like road running, really before you get into the mountains. So I was nervous about that. But, looking around, I saw a lot of the other women who were kind of all leapfrogging together. So I wasn't sure what place I was in, but then went into the night and then just ran fairly chill and relaxed to Courmayeur, which was the plan.
Did you start after things clear out after Lake Condamine, able to sort of gauge your place either by like talking to your crew or like not in detail, but like do you sort of get a feel for how things are going?
Again, not really, but I kind of knew some splits of like where I wanted to be, and I was pretty close on those. So I figured, I wasn't sure where everyone was in the pack, but I knew I was kind of right where I wanted to be, and feeling controlled and relaxed. Yeah, so
and good.
Yeah, I was feeling good. And I passed. I made a few passes, mostly guys, but coming into Courmayeur, like on that one little pyramids climb, and then after there's a climb to get up to the TMB before you go and drop down into Courmayeur. So I made a few passes then, but then came in into Courmayeur and was like, all right, let's go now.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that. Like you have a good first half, but you get to Courmayeur. What was there a light switch? Was it catching people beforehand? Was it something you did in the aid station that you really kind of turned it on? It felt like.
No, I just it's a long race with the course is brutal. Like really, like multiple times out there thinking like, wow, this course is messed up. Like it's like there's just so you got just so much left to go at any given point. So. My plan and race strategy was just to get to Courmayeur feeling like the race could start then.
Yeah.
And so what I didn't fully plan for was that Katie, Shide, and Marianne were going to be like over an hour ahead of me getting to that aid. So, I mean, they just ran phenomenal races and really phenomenal first halves. And I think, ultimately, I'm racing competition, also racing the course, and there's a little bit of a gamble there, which being my first time at UTMB, I wasn't really willing to gamble quite in that way. And so, I'm happy with coming into Courmayeur and feeling like I could run a strong rest of the race after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think in talking with Katie before the race, she kind of took a not conservative approach, but like running within herself the previous 2 runs here. And maybe in the future you can gamble more. But it was nice to.
Yeah, I think it's always a dial of like how much do you make a gamble and not. And like I said, like first time here at the race, I feel like I'm really happy with how the race went for me.
Yeah, kind of somewhere when the sun comes up in the morning, I think you made a comment of like you are in no woman's land, and at that point, did you kind of have a good feel for where you were and that you were very much?
So I mean, it was crazy. Like I came into Courmayeur, and at that point, I asked my husband Ellie, who was crewing me, I was like, "Well, what place am I in here?" He's like, "Well, you're about to leave in third." I'm like, "Oh God, okay, like, all right, like let's do this." And like I said, like my plan was to kind of push a little bit going out of Courmayeur, and the next update I got was in La Folie or Champélac, or forget where I heard, probably La Folie, where I learned I put over an hour on people. And at that point I was still kind of an hour behind. So I was like kind of spread in the middle, and there really weren't a lot of guys around at that point either. I'd pass a few people here and there, but I ran like most of the race by myself.
And how
was
that?
Like for a race, wasn't expecting that at UTMB.
So many people, like 2,500 people.
I mean, I think I was actually really looking forward to the night section and hoping I could do some solo running then. I just kind of could settle into my groove. And at that point, that was still when I was really just trying to like race, kind of within my means. But then it made the last 40 miles, which is a long time. Feel just, you know, I was just alone. I was running really well, but I think it's always like you just have to dig in a little bit of a different way when you're trying to motivate yourself when there's no one else around and I don't see anyone. And, you know, as far as I know, it's like I've you know, running about the same splits as Katie and Marianne ahead of me. No, you know, gaining a little bit here and there and then, you know, back and forth. But then, you know, I still had a really big lead from behind. So it was a little bit of, you talked about kind of making gambles and choices. And at that point, I was like, I had a really solid podium, but I knew I still had, you know, 40, 30, whatever miles to go. And so at that point, it's like the worst thing I could do for me in this race and this day is to just like make a stupid mistake and blow up myself. Like I wanted to just like kind of keep it together and make sure I just was running consistent.
And you weren't going to gamble. You didn't need a full house or a straight flush or something to have a great day.
No, I didn't need to.
You had a good hand on the table, like and you went with it.
Yeah.
So how did you motivate yourself in that like last 40 miles?
You know, Ellie told me at one point, I think it was in Champs Lac, and I just asked like, hey, has anything changed ahead or behind me? And he's like, no, it's basically the same. I'm like, okay. He's like, you don't need to run scared, but you need to run like you want a podium at UTMB. And I'm like, okay. So I found that was actually good motivation just to be like, yeah, like, you know, kind of pushing when I felt like I could push, but also, again, kind of being conservative enough where I wasn't going to risk blowing up or making a big fall or something like that. So, you know, I've done quite a few, like, big mountain adventures and stuff like that over the last few years. And so I feel like some of those FKT efforts teach you how to just self-motivate. And it really felt like that. Like, I mean, there are lots of sections on the course where I felt like I was running the Wonderland Trail again. Just without a friend running with me.
Yeah.
Just me.
I was going to ask, ask you about that. Like, you do a lot. It seems like you like a big motivation for you in a way. You get a lot of your fitness is from like these adventure outings. Like, what role does adventure and these long adventure runs play in your, not just your racing, but your approach to running in general?
Yeah, I mean, I just like to have fun and push myself, and I think there's a lot of different ways to do that. You could do that in races, or you could do it where the terrain is the challenge, or when the time, or you know, that kind of thing is the challenge. So, earlier this summer I did, actually just a couple weeks ago, did a big traverse in the Cascades, and I feel like that actually was a pretty critical part of my build-up for UTMB. Fairly different than what most people would do, but I think it helped me from overdoing it in training. I came in fresh, I was ready to race. And I felt really strong, and I think a lot of that is due to just so many days of moving and a lot of vert, and just, you know, being used to just being in the mountains and kind of following the terrain like that. And
maybe mentally fresh in a racing perspective, like it can be mentally challenging in one of these long adventure type runs to deal with the elements in the mountain, but it's maybe a different mental energy than racing the clock or other people or whatever.
Yeah, totally. No, I felt like I was able to be like mentally fresh going into the race because I hadn't raced a lot this year, and that was kind of the plan. Like my goal was UTMB, and so being able to come in and like really like just be ready to take that on, because hundreds take a lot out of you, and especially I think to deal with like this race and this course, but also with just how much commotion. I mean, it's just like so much hype. Like it's really exciting, but I think like you really have to, or at least for me, like, and kind of how I deal with races and stuff, like I knew I needed to just be able to like chill out and settle into that, and I think it helped just being like really excited to get out and race.
Yeah. From like talking to you, sound like you were just like controlled, like calm, like but purposeful the whole race. Like, were there any low points or sections?
I had a low point going up the Bovine climb. It was really hot. Like it started to get really hot. At least for me, it was like full sun then. And it's not the easiest to manage your heat in a race, like especially compared to like Western states, like where there's ice and water everywhere and like sponge baths. Like, no, it's just like nothing, just you and the cows. So I had a little bit of a low there, but fortunately after that had planned ahead and had some ice waiting for me at the next aid station, so I used some ice, had dumped some water on myself and stuff, and I think that helped a lot with the heat.
Did you have a favorite memory from during the run?
I don't know, one favorite memory. Oh yes, actually when I got into Le Chapeau, or is that how you say it?
Chapeau, yeah. I don't speak French, but
that aid station, there was a song playing that is like one of my it's like I studied abroad when I was in college, and like right around that time there was a song Stereo Love that was just like blasting in all the clubs. And so like ever since then that's been like the Euro dance song for me. And that song was playing when I got in there, and of course I like came in by myself and I was just like dancing with the volunteers. It was really fun. I was like, this is like special that this song
There
is
was
playing
a
for me.
moment.
Yeah, there was a
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
That was a good moment.
So, you just got to finish on the podium at UTMB. Does that kind of wrap up your season, or do you have other adventures or races planned?
I didn't plan anything specifically after this. I really wanted to just give myself a chance to be all in at UTMB, and then I'll take the next couple days and just see how my body's doing, and then see if I want to fit in. There's a bunch of great races still in the fall, but I think now that I can think of ahead to already, like, I know I want to come back next year.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, kind of look at the calendar and figure out like how to best fit in an off season and just go from there.
Yeah. So it did sound like you wanted to do UTM again sometime, but you kind of want to.
I want to do it next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
All
coming
right.
back.
Well, congratulations on a great run this year, and I can't
you.
wait to see what you do next year.
Thanks.